Hello, everybody, and welcome back. As you can see, we have added a brand new person to the stream. Some of you might know who this is, but yeah, welcome, Zvi Mowshowitz. How are we doing?
We're doing great. It's a happy Memorial Day. I had a good barbecue, and now I get to watch some set roulette.
That sounds awesome. Sounds like a very, very, very good day. So if you've been watching earlier, you did see that we are unveiling this round, or before top 8, we're going to be unveiling our choices for both the best deck, or for I guess all the best deck, the sweetest brew, and the most powerful deck that isn't the best choice. So I definitely felt, looking through all the deck lists, this was going to be something that was very, very tough because, like there's so many cool things out there. But I guess we can start with whichever one you think you would like to go with at first.
Yeah, so this was kind of an interesting situation in which there were sort of 4 decks I wanted to give prizes to, and I had to decide which one was going to be the odd man out. But let's start with the best deck, what I thought was the best deck. So okay. I decided that Jack Kiefer had the best deck. And the reason for this is because I feel like he does the best job of playing and dealing with the most broken card in the format. So, yes. So Master Edition 3 is kind of what, to me, this format is all about, with the exception of Skullclamp. So you've got Mana Drain, you've got Mind Twist, you've got Skullclamp, and all those cards are obviously insane. Like, Mana Draining into a Mind Twist is obviously like the best thing you can be doing in any format where that's legal and you don't have Moxes or something. So, being able to play those with the Mana Acceleration of Elston Deep Shadow and Utopia Sprawl, and having enough to take advantage of Skullclamp without being dependent on Skullclamp, really impressed me. There's a lot in this build that's very, very elegant and clever. And I also like that it's got access to all 4 oxidizes. It's very prepared for the pure Skullclamp versions if it needs to be. That was very important to me when I was selecting what I thought the best choice was. And just, I love a lot of these cards. I love Woodland Wanderer in this format. It seems like kind of the most powerful creature all around. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot of really good stuff going on here. I'm a little, sad that we can't do some other cool things, but you can't do everything in one deck. This
yeah, that's fair.
Does a very good job of fitting in what it can. I'm a little skeptical about I see a lot of Bone Splitters in a lot of these lists over Seal of Doom, which I'm a little skeptical of. He has 1 Seal of Doom in the board and 4 Bone Splitters, so it's clearly been thought about. But with Dispel on the board, it feels like it's very prepared for the control deck as well. Like, this is very close to where I'd want to be. This deck just brings me happiness, right? If anything, I'm sad I don't have access to Old Man of the Sea. Yeah. Maybe my biggest complaint. I saw Jim Davis use that to very good effect, with a few accidents along the way. But these cards are old. It's very reasonable and understandable.
Yeah, if you know
even a minute before it happens, I see he's gonna want to equip this thing 3 times. He's got to know not to do that, and he did it. You see the look on his face, yeah.
All the new ones, they don't always check, right? It's like they only check when you steal it. They don't check afterwards.
We've had a decade of that not being an issue, of this not mattering, and suddenly we're playing Arabian Nights and it matters, right? All of a sudden, and of course the hidden, 4th thing was, of course, the dual lands, right? That we have access to a bunch of actual dual lands, and that creates some very strange mana bases because of the exact lands we have access to in this format.
All right. Well, that's pretty awesome. I guess we can go to what was the next closest deck to being the best choice, your most powerful deck.
Right. So it's I'm gonna next the odd man out that I didn't get a prize, but would have if there was a 4th one, was DrMaD, the white blue control deck. He played, some on stream. There were some the deck looked very, very powerful on stream. I definitely would have played slightly differently in some spots, but it's a very, very powerful build. I like a lot of what's going on here. As usual with these things, the biggest change I would make would be to immediately have access to more wrath effects.
Yeah.
Although Septifery's Moat in the board, which we didn't see in play, but does kind of serve that purpose in a lot of situations.
Yes.
So there's a lot to love about this build. Disenchant in the board. If anything, like I'm surprised it's only boarded and there's only 3 of them.
Yeah.
You have a lot of tools. You Pulse to the Grid, as we said, is like a very good little bit of Mind Twist insurance in case it goes off. But with Absorb and Mana Drain both being very powerful counter spells, you get to use Force Spike to buy yourself some time. We saw him Mana Drain into Effective Fiction, and Mana Drain into Effective Fiction, and Mana Drain into Effective Fiction. You can Mana Drain into Quarantine Field. You can Mana Drain into Gideon or Pristine Angel. It's all incredibly powerful. If anything, like one curiosity to me is we didn't try to splash black.
Just for the Mana Drain, then into Mind Twist.
Yes, just for Mind Twist, right? Because Mind Twist is the type of card, like if you look at, so this format has a lot in common in some ways with Old School, right? In terms of there's a few very, very powerful cards and some very, very good mana, but you don't have enough of it, right? You don't quite have the mana you need, but you have a lot of it. And so you often see Old School decks that play a surprisingly low number of mana sources in order to get very, very powerful cards like Mind Twist, knowing that Mind Twist will often sit in your hand uncastable because it's Mind Twist. It's okay. A Mind Twist that's a blank a third of the time is still a great card when you're mana draining people for 3 on turn 3. A lot. Because you see a lot of these decks have to play a lot of 3-drops and 4-drops into possible mana drains. And they don't right?
Yeah.
So, I think if this deck can, I think it can, get, 8, 10 black sources into it without too much extra pain, I don't think there are that many matchups where the pain matters, and having access to Mind Twist is just so huge, right? If this deck ever mana drains and untaps with a Mind Twist, you just tap out to Mind Twist and the game's over. Yeah. So that's something I didn't see anyone try, like in its full form, but it would have been interesting to me. But like I can't argue pretty much with almost any of these cards. Washout I might be able to argue with as sort of loose slots in the board that could be used for cards like Disenchant and the second Wrath in the format. It's the Awaken Wrath.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like that's another card I'd be interested in potentially. But again, like this deck list looks really tight on so many levels, right? It does a very, very good job of the things it's trying to do. I'd probably have access to the 4th Condemn. I'd have access to the access to 5th Wrath. 4th Disenchant. But like I don't see anything unless we can splash reasonably. That's just really missing from this deck. And I'm just this is kind of like when you play set roulette, you're playing kind of week 0 of a format, right? You're playing decks that have barely been tested because there's no way to test them. And so a lot of players are playing decks that are very reliant on 1 or 2 key cards that they've built around. In this case, often Skull Clamp. And other times, a few other cards. But this deck is very, very well positioned, and we've seen him get in situations where it felt like the other decks were helpless, right? Continuously. Yep. And so I thought about whether this deck is the best deck or not. I think I like the Sultai build more. But this is definitely the deck that's grown on me the most through watching the tournament.
All right.
It's going to get a prize anyway. It made the top 8. So, there's
So it looks like we're going to save the suspense on the next 2, the Sweetest Brew and the actual the winner of the most powerful deck that isn't the best choice. And we're actually going to go into our feature match for this round. Looks like I'm just trying to figure out exactly where they told me it. They told me it somewhere. We're going to be playing. We're going to actually see the deck they were just talking about, the DrMaD deck. DrMaD finished the Swiss with 15 points, so 5-1. And they will be playing against. Sorry, just pulling this up. Looks like they're going to be playing against deck list base. Jack Cummings on the red-black aggro deck. I don't know if you got a choice to see this, but it should be sweet. So let's go ahead and jump into the game here. It looks like they're a couple turns in, but not too far. It looks like DrMaD has made some land drops. It looks like it looks like Jack missed a few land drops, but does have an Aether Vial, which is pretty sweet. Gets around a lot of the counter magic from DrMaD.
Yeah, it's not even clear that you want to make land drops once you have an Aether Vial past a certain point, right? Like you have 2 lands, you might want 3, but you probably that deck doesn't necessarily want 4, right? That deck is very, very aggressive.
Yeah.
Like I mean, look at the creature it has in play, right? It's a creature that gives other creatures haste. So this is a very, very dangerous matchup for DrMaD, right? This is exactly what he doesn't want to see.
Yeah.
Right? It's hyper. Yeah, it's hyper aggressive. It's very hard to break up with counter spells. It even has Aether Vial.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those places where you're really going to wish that you had that extra condemn, more rafts, just more removal you can throw at people. And, that's what's going to matter. But still, he's got some very powerful tools. I wouldn't count him out.
Yeah.
This is a relatively quiet board, but, it's going to be tough. He has a route. He can buy some time.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you. You brought up the 3 disenchants in the sideboard for DrMaD. Is this like an example of a time where you just wish you had maybe 1 or 2 of those disenchants possibly main board over something?
I mean, Aether Vial is the worst nightmare of every player of counterspells, right? He's got 10 counterspells in his deck. 2 Scatter of the Winds, one of which is in hand, 4 absorbs, and 4 counterspells. And they're probably going to still be able to do something, right, as you can see, because you want a double spell, right? You don't want to just sit there on the Aether Vial. But the spells that matter most are not going to be counterspelled, right? And it makes sense to consider letting that one through because it's not a very dangerous creature. They're going to be routing fairly soon, regardless. But with everyone potentially having haste, this could hurt a lot. Route costs 7 mana to do an instant speed, which is 2 turns from now. So that's not going to happen right away. So this is going to be a pretty big hit. All right, so let's see. This is an attack for, if I count right, 9, right? Because DrMaD will pump up the other 2 with first strike.
That seems to be it, yeah.
Oh, right, but except for Caracas, so not so much. So, yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the Caracas coming in big there.
This is just a ridiculous Magic card, and I'm curious to know if his opponent has another 3-drop and just didn't realize Caracas was Caracas because we've all been there, or if that was just the only 3-drop and you might as well make him tap Caracas and hope he doesn't have anything better. So the fact that he didn't put anything else out because he can give creatures haste, right, makes it more like some of them makes it more likely that there isn't anything else. But we'll have to see.
It does kind of do like a nice Rishadan Port style thing, right? It's like the Caracas is always going to be tapped now due to the Drana plus Aether Vial.
Right, unless he decides to do an instant feed route here.
Yeah.
Right, which is very possible but I mean, almost certainly not what he's going to do, given the way that control players act and how open it would leave him. Like you get to 3 for 1, but that leaves a person with a 4-card hand, 3 lands, and an Aether Vial on 3. Although, I mean,
we're 1 mana short of a route, right?
Ourselves, yeah. So he's going to attack for 6. Take him down to 6.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Jack actually fires up that Nexus next turn, knowing that there's possibly a route on the other side.
Right, knowing how this format works, knowing exactly what's in DrMaD's deck. If he doesn't have route, he's going to lose this game. Mm-hmm. Right, if he doesn't cast anything on his own turn. So I think you have to put him on route. Right, plus you have the 6 damage here anyway. Making him tap Caracas if he doesn't have route doesn't accomplish anything because he only needs the Caracas for white mana if he does have route.
Yeah.
So it's a mistake to tap the Aether Vial. Well, it's never a mistake to tap the Aether Vial. It's a mistake to put it into play. Right? You choose not to find anything and scare the guy a little bit, which is always an.
It's actually like one of my favorite things that a lot of legacy players miss is they just go back to their turn with an Aether Vial untapped, and it's like you can just tap it. You don't have to put anything into play. Like it might make your opponent do something.
Right, so this is interesting because that's only 5 damage, right? So
yeah, so you'd have to know something's up here.
Yeah, I mean you can. So he chose to expose Dralnu instead of exposing his land. The problem with that play, right, is that he could just use Caracas on Dralnu and go to 1 there if he wants.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily what he wants. That's not necessarily bad for you, but like giving him the option is very interesting, right? There are hands where that's the right play, and he might not have the route. Like if he draws the route off the top, that's the tragedy.
Yeah.
So
I wonder, like, that just like means to me that they valued the Blinkmoth over the Caracas or over the Drana because possibly the Caracas.
Yeah. Another play could have been to play this creature that he played afterwards and give it haste.
Oh yeah, that's true.
To either play, right? And then that gets exactly 6, and that forces the Wrath. So I think I would have been very tempted to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the second drone does color our view of that, right? Because it means that the drone is even less valuable, right? First, it's less valuable because it gets Caracas every turn, but now it's even less valuable than that because there's actually a second copy while getting Caracas every turn. So maybe it just doesn't matter very much, and any little distraction is not bad.
It looks like Jack was unfortunately devoid of lands, right? So we can't even do like the cool thing of like activate Blinkmoth Nexus and then pump Sledge Crawler for lethal here. Obviously, they have to respect another route, is what you would assume that could happen from DrMaD, but I don't get to see a Sledge Crawler pumped very often. So
you have to respect route. You don't have that much fear of condemn here just because it has to have been drawn, right? There's very little chance this game would have gone the way it did if he had a condemn. So, you could view this game as almost just respecting Scatter to the Winds and not letting the 3/3 come into play.
Yeah.
Right? He's did a very good job so far of just not casting spells into this thing at all. When, the 4 cards must be something in some sense. Right? He's just trying to go all the way here.
Yeah. Just one Sledge Crawler going to town.
I mean, Pulse of the Fields, we're going to find out. Well, I mean, Pulse of the grid.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we end up with 4 cards, which is the exact same one as our opponent.
Yeah. So a bonus question: should he have Force Spiked it?
Ooh, that would be a nice play, right?
Oh, we got it back anyway. It's less than or equal to. I thought it was.
Oh, okay. I thought it was less than as well.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, these old cards take you by surprise. This is great fun.
I do remember like mana burning myself so that Pulse of the Forge would work.
Oh yeah, I did that at the first Legacy Championships all the time. It was great.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? You're like, I don't know. I just need to lose 3 life. All right, my turn.
No, I mean, I was Pulse of the Fields also.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Where you burn yourself for once, you can gain 4 and then gain 4 again.
Yeah.
That's even more interesting than the Pulse of the Forge, where you're just racing everyone to 0. Because they're like, everybody knows that you're the one who's burning people, so you want to go most of the time. The Pulse of the Fields map is even weirder, right? Because you're just moving in multiples of 4 and modulating up and down, and then do they burn? Right? If you get mad, do they start burning their mana? Right? Especially if they haven't if you haven't revealed the first Pulse of the Fields yet, because the deck lists weren't open back then.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Gideon. So we have a way to stay alive, but we only have 2 white sources. And if we cast Gideon with them, we can't stop drawing them.
Yeah. Well, the other issue is that if we cast Gideon with them as well, we can't stop the Blinkmoth Nexus either, right?
Right. This is a very bad number to be at, just in general. Oh, there's the route.
There we go.
Right. The problem with route is, right, you can't do anything else while you route, and we're kind of treading water.
Well, the other issue is that we're at 1, right? So we can declare attacks with the Sludge and the Drana. You cast Route, and then I activate Blinkmoth after the Route has resolved, and then attack with the Blinkmoth, right?
Right. The temptation there, though, is because Caracas can bounce Dronu, a Condemn now buys a turn.
Yeah.
Right? Which is not necessarily something you want. There's only 2 routes left in the deck, right? There's only 3 in the main, and 1's been used. Ooh. So it's very
an issue.
I do not blame him for this. I do not think this is necessarily counterindicated. I think that this is very reasonable.
Yeah. This also might mean that they have Chain Lightning in hand too. Although Chain Lightning
you have Chain Lightning. Yes, it could not get Force Spiked if he doesn't land.
All right. Fire Ambush finishes it off. Yes.
So given he has that, then I think all lines just win every time.
Yeah.
All reasonable lines anyway. All right, so let's see how we sideboard. Teferi's Moat is and Washout are both facing Devoid cards, and it's kind of awkward.
Yeah. I was gonna bring that up. You brought up Teferi's Moat earlier, and I was like, well, what about against all of these artifacts or the Devoid creatures? And it's I don't know if that counts as a Wrath at that point, but it's kind of interesting think about for sure.
It makes sense that Shuri's Moch is a very powerful card, but in the context of exactly what's in this format, it's got a lot of problems. So I think I would much rather have just actual additional rafts, just because so many things can go wrong. So, okay, so we haven't started moving cards around yet. Obviously, the route's coming in.
Yeah.
That's the one, like, just knockout amazing card.
Yeah, I also like Old Man of the Sea. That's pretty awesome.
There's a decent number of creatures it can take. It's not as powerful as it is in the Skull Clamp decks, right? Because those decks can both use Old Man of the Sea, pump up Old Man of the Sea with Skull Clamp to take something big, and they can Skull Clamp the creature Old Man of the Sea takes to draw cards.
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually, like, the sideboard doesn't seem super well off for this matchup specifically. And, like, maybe that's just because, this deck is tuned for, like, what they were expecting with, like, the Skull Clamp bug deck. And then this, like, you didn't expect, like, the Aether Vial red-black aggro creatures.
Yeah, so I'm deeply skeptical of cutting Force Spike here. That seems crazy to me.
Yeah.
Right, I can see cutting Pulse the Grid seems reasonable. Trimming Factor Fiction seems reasonable. I don't mind cutting the Quarantined Fields. But, like, if they go turn 1 Aether Vial, you need to spike it. And you're on the play. Right, on the play, cutting the 4 spikes, it's really strange to me. I mean...
It puts you much more reliant on your disenchants. Like, they're boarding in 2 disenchants. I think if you're going to make that play, I think I like boarding in all of the disenchants then, right? At the very least.
How many targets are there in this build?
Just the Aether Vial.
Yeah, like I would definitely keep Force Spike over Disenchant on the play for this exact reason, because you're really, really scared of turn 1 Aether Vial. After that, like, if it comes late enough, you can let it go. If it comes early, you can probably Force Spike it or Mana Drain it.
Yeah.
So, I don't really understand. Like, I'd feel so much better if that Disenchant was a Force Spike right now, right?
Yeah.
And not just because we don't have a white source. That's not fair, right? If this was a Hallowed Fountain in an island, I would still feel much more comfortable if that was a Force Spike.
Oh, man, there's some nice cards in the sideboard for Jack. I was just looking at the red-black aggro sideboard. They have Addle, which is a nice one, but they also have Stormworld, which is a card I have not seen in a long time.
Yeah, Stormworld's a house, and that makes Disenchant, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm much more excited about Disenchant if there's an additional target.
Yeah,
right?
So now it looks like there's 7 good targets that cost 1 mana.
Yeah, now I do want Disenchant more, but still, it's going to be tough. Yeah, I mean, we mulliganed. We're going to have to keep this and put back Pristine Angel, presumably.
Yeah. Which is a little unfortunate, but they can make their patented play of Mana Drain into Factor Fiction, so that's
certainly
good.
Would hope so. I mean, if there's a 2-drop to Mana Drain on turn 2, then we can Factor Fiction and then undo the mulligan that way.
Yeah.
And then hopefully find some action.
Or Volcano. It's an exciting dual hand.
I mean, this is a very strange set of mana that we have access to, right? Like, we have like half of various cycles in various forms.
All right, Blake Moth Nexus into Ravenous Rats. That's our 2-drop, right? That's what we were asking for.
Anything that costs 2, right? Like, in this spot to cast Factor Fiction, we just don't care. We would kind of drain a blank spell.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure we actually would drain it. Wait, playing that island's wrong, right?
I think so, because you want to be able to play a white source, right? If you get the chance, or like a tap land.
White source, but even like if you want to, particularly want to play Hallowed Fountain if you draw. But even more than that, you want to bluff that you don't have another land.
Yeah, that is true.
Right, like by playing an island, you represent that you have land 3, and now your opponent knows quite likely, like, you played an island. Caracas is the only white source you have. Like,
yeah,
putting Caracas alone there, by the way, is not crazy at all. And it's a next level play to have the white source play the island first in order to provoke that.
Yeah.
Right? Provoke the white source being overvalued, right? I think that if you actually need the white source, you cannot reveal that you cannot reveal the 3rd island.
Yeah, because then your opponent, like, if they just see a Hallowed Fountain, they're just like, okay, well, that's a fine, that, like, that's just a land, right? But then if you give the signal that you have no white, then it's like that land means something.
Right, like when you play the first 2 islands, that makes perfect sense. You have to mana drain them, right? Like de facto section. But now, do you have a white source? So, like, if I don't play a land yet, and I see a plains, I'm not sure it's that important.
Yeah.
In this case, it's Caracas. Caracas is just a super amazing card anyway. So I'd be very tempted to just make him choose Caracas or no. It's risky. It's very risky. But what would he have done if he had been put to the question, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was really close.
Yeah, we saw the draw of getting Ally of Zendikar. This card is like, it feels like one of the cards that was like kind of like an asterisk, right? In the powerful cards of the set. Like you had like obviously Mana Drain, Skull Clamp, and Mind Twister are more powerful. But getting Ally of Zendikar is like it can almost like it can definitely just like win games on its own, right?
Yeah, I mean it plays very good Magic, right? It's a good tool. I don't think it's anywhere near on the level of Mana Drain or Mind Twist.
No.
I don't think anyone would think so. But I mean, it's sort of, this format has a bunch of good stuff, right? Good stuff cards in it. Like there's the multicolor creatures, right? The green blue flyer. It has Sunburst, the Woodland Wanderer, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there's Gideon are kind of like the good, just like let's play some creatures that have power that people found.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean there aren't others that people just didn't have a good fit for, right? There might well have been. All right, so this is an interesting decision, right? Like, you don't really want to counter this, but you don't really want to discard any of your cards either.
Yeah. I think this is where you're like weighing whether or not like discarding Disenchant or discarding Mana Drain is better for you.
Yeah, I've been reasonably inclined to discard Disenchant there on the theory that the chance he has A for Vial is very low, right? It's basically that the chance he drew A for Vial was the chance he has A for Vial.
Yeah.
And I don't have another counterspell, so it's not that big a deal. Like, the 1 damage doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, especially if we can get to this Gideon, right?
Right, you're going to wish he had that Mana Drain. Now he's just going to take the Gideon.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I do think I like discarding the Disenchant for the reasons that you stated. If you are DrMaD and you just drew this opt, what are you looking to find here? Is it still just white sources, or are you just like I mean it feels like you're so far behind.
Like you're not turning a white source down, but also you're very dangerously close to flooding on blue sources, right? Okay, that was a trap drawing an island, so it's very hard to turn down. And the game's not like out of hand yet, right? You're not in a hurry, so I think you keep most spells in this spot. I think you just keep most spells and you keep white sources and you turn out everything else.
Yeah.
And I would turn to a second. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I suppose even though that DrMaD, it feels from their side that like you're like basically struggling to participate in this game. Your opponent's not really doing anything, right? They just like took away all your resources. But something like a Pulse of the Fields or this Fact or Fiction could just get you right back in the game, right?
I mean, this is the situation where, as the control player, right, your goal is just to survive.
Yeah.
And you've done that. And that's a terrible...
This is like, I want both these white sources, right?
I mean, you at least have to put the island with those 2 white sources, right? Come on. Right?
I don't mind the split of lands and spells.
By the way, I disagree with this election. I would have taken the white cards. I understand that it's risky, right? But you're at 17. You have some time. Like, we're in a lot of danger here of just, like, dying to not stuff. Like, the opponent has 5 cards in his hand, probably doesn't have more than 1 land in his hand at most. Our Disenchant is mismatched. Right?
Blazing Strike is pretty big.
Yeah, I would have taken the other pile, for sure. Even knowing the risk, right?
Yeah. I suppose like Pristine Angel is going to be a very tough thing for your opponent to get through.
Right. Like, I mean, he has some Devoid, but it's small, so it's blockable anyway. I feel like you just need to, wait, what was that? So why did we discard Disenchant instead of Prairie Stream?
That I'm a little intrigued by as well. I think I like where their head was at was basically like you get it as instant speed route. And I think maybe we're just like stuck on the point where we're just like, we needed white for so long that it just like kind of got stuck where it's I need white.
That was land 8. So we're saving Force Spike. We're keeping Force Spike up by doing this. And we just drew that Force Spike. So I'm not sure what we're thinking, right? Like, having new
Force
intent
Fight
in our
might get
hand.
some value. Oh, no. There it goes.
Yes, that's great value. I mean, look,
Yeah.
look, that play worked out great, but I have no idea how you see this line coming, right? Like, I'm kind of in awe, right? Like, you read his mind? Like, that's great. Yeah. All right, see. Right, so now, like, we're kind of like, you know, your opponent has like 9 cards running around. We have 9 cards running around. We're at 12.
Oof. This one's pretty big, though.
That's a good card.
Yeah. Not legendary, also bigger than Old Man of the Sea. Checks both boxes for being able to attack multiple times.
The problem is that we need to get some action that counts for something.
Yeah.
And that's something.
Yeah. It is dangerous because of like obviously the Akum Firebird can take it down pretty easily.
Well, so bonus question, do you just take an emblem and take the Firebird?
That is I like that line. That line is actually really nice.
Right, because now you have a 4. No, the problem is if you take the Firebird, it immediately becomes a 4/4 and you give it back.
Oh, that's true because it's an anthem. I forgot about that.
That's great. If he falls into that trap, then I'm like, well, I would have maybe fallen into that trap too. So I can't.
I would have definitely fallen into that. Oh, it looks like he's
gonna do it. I mean, to be fair, he can. No, don't do it now. Do it on his. Yeah.
So you can like fog every turn, right? Wait, you just like take the Firebird. It goes back.
Is Old Man of the Sea instant speed activation or is it slow?
It's instant speed.
All right, yeah, and you can do this, right? He figured it out. He's putting the stop down. It doesn't remove it from combat. There's no rush here whatsoever. He's going to let him activate as many Ikmofs as he wants.
Yeah.
And then before he turns it sideways, then maybe you take it, right? Like I would not be in a rush here. Like why are we? You know, you never know what the future will bring. This will.
Oh no! The problem is that the Firebird has haste, right? So when he's stolen in the upkeep,
inside
still gets to attack.
He's going to take the damage here. That's bad. Yeah, you can do it, right? Just wait in combat. You take it even for half a second. It removes it from combat.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't keep it at all.
Yeah. There's a lot of really tricky rules at work here, but yeah, I think after a long time we have figured out how to make Gideon Ally Zendikar Emblem and Old Man of the Sea and Akum Firebird work together.
Yeah, so the question is, what is he doing that's better than attacking with Link Waff Nexus? Because there's no, I guess, killing you.
Yeah, that was the better line, unfortunately, for DrMaD.
We're just dead. Yeah. I mean, we're probably going to lose anyway, right, no matter what we do, because we take damage from the lands.
Yeah.
And that Condemn doesn't really save it.
Yeah, that was actually really interesting, though.
Yeah, that was a really bad matchup, I think, for DrMaD.
I think the second that we stopped in and we saw Aether Vial on one side and then just counter magic on the other side, and you're just like, I'm never going to be able to counter another creature the rest of this game, so I have to literally kill every single creature, and you have the 3 routes and the 3 condemns, and that's basically it, right?
Yeah, I thought about that red-black deck when I was looking through the lists. And it was definitely one of these decks that says, like, you know, I'm playing a competent, like, aggro deck that can kill people. And so I knew it was, like, way better than a lot of the decks that were out there. But I thought they just, you know, just so much less powerful cards. They didn't seem that impressive to me.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's not actually just good at killing people, right? It might be very good at killing people. So I mean, yeah.
I was gonna say that's like so when you play, you know, week 0 or week 1 standard, like that's like something that you like. I think you see a lot of, right? Is like these people are trying to still figure out the format, and you're just like, well, I know how to cast a 1-drop into a 2-drop into some burn spells, right? While you might have like some holes in your deck list, like my deck is going to be efficient at what it does, so your holes will like give me a chance to deal 20 damage, right?
Yeah. And you have some power to your cards, right? So that if you're just trying to go pure under people, you know, I can cast spells that are cheap and then I can do something reasonable. Like therefore it might be a reasonable matchup against the Baby Metal deck, for example, which is coming up in discussion shortly. Not to be too much of a spoiler.
Yeah. All right. So since we are kind of on the topic, we did want to hear the rest of these of words.
Sure.
Okay, so I've gotten a win that we are going to look at the top 8 actually instead. So we get to see the rest of our top 8 here. Obviously, we just saw DrMaD and Jack Cummings. That was the 2 versus the 7. But it looks like the rest of the top 8, working our way from 8 all the way to 1, we had Dominic Harvey, who is on a really cool blue-white reanimator list. Is one of the lucky 12-pointers. Jack Cummings, who was on the red-black aggro deck, another lucky of the 12-pointers. 12-pointers went all the way down to 16th. So there was a tiebreaker fight there. And then these players all had 15 points. We had Jarvis Yu on, I believe, another Sultai clamp deck with Mind Twist and Recoil, and then like Skull Clamp and the like. And then we had Colby Keller, 5-color Sultai, very similar to the lists that we've seen previously, but a little bit more reactive. We watched them in an earlier match. They are like, they have cards like Probe and Ruinous Path as like their removal spells rather than something like Recoil, which looked a little weaker in the mirror. But it like maybe it gained points elsewhere, as Probe is like pretty good against your control style decks.
Recoil is very, very good on turn 2. Mm-hmm. It's worth noting, and it's very good against Utopia Sprawl.
Yeah, recalling the land on Utopia Sprawl is a very, very nice one for sure.
If you go turn 1 Utopia Sprawl and one of you goes turn 2 Recoil, that player is going to win the game. The game's
Okay. Next up, we are on Jack Kiefer. Jack Kiefer playing the Bug, or I guess like the 5-color Sultai Clamp. You kind of went over that earlier with the Best Deck Award. And let's see. Another Bug Clamp deck at the top with Benjamin Whites. B Whites is like, it looks like he tested with like the Jarvis Yu, came to very, very similar ideas, and then rounding out one was the bringing to light the issues with dual lands, which we got covered on the when I was out, unfortunately. But bringing to light plus some cash for Jingju's very powerful spells here. So
it definitely wins the best deck name award.
Yes,
it's not a cash prize, but I want to just give it out specifically. Like, what I didn't understand with that deck is it seems like you're playing Bring to Light, and you're very good at casting it for 4, and occasionally you cast it for 5. But you're not. There are very few one-ofs, especially like there wasn't a route in the deck, for example. There were a lot of cards that felt like they were missing from that type of strategy, and also a lot of the cards in the deck that it felt like the go-tos you'd want don't work for Bring to Light, right? Because they have Sunburst.
Oh, that's true.
You can't actually get them. So I felt like if this deck goes Bring to Light for 4 or 5, it'll often be left with, including on an empty board, just, well, okay, now what?
You get to play 7 Time Walks, though, right? If you do it for 5. Because you can find Capture of Jingju.
You can play it once, sure.
That's true.
I mean, you can cast Bring to Light as a Time Walk that costs, Wooburg. Yeah. But that's worse than just casting Time Walk.
That's fair.
So, I like that there was Time Warp available, but I just didn't see where this deck was going, right? In terms of, it had like the weird legend to go for, which was kind of cool, because especially because you can Bring to Light again, like, and then the card you get with Bring to Light and the Bring to Light count, and then you get multiple 3/3s, and then you kick people's faces in.
Yeah.
But it just felt like you did all this work, right? Which I really admired, and then like the payoff there, I didn't feel like I was the kind of invincible I want to be when I pull it off.
That's fair. All right. So we're going to be bringing you the top 4 and also the other 2 decks that won awards when we come back. It looks like our top 4 matches, our top 8 matches have finished up. When we come back, we'll do the results and then also the decks that won the rest of the awards. So see you in a few minutes.